Hello everyone, my name is Scott Aubrey. I am so happy to be with you today. I am the owner of Aubrey Law. We are an estate planning and probate law firm and we do both of them well. Today's topic is, do I need a pour-over will as part of my estate plan? But before we get started, if you have any question about today's topic or any questions about estate planning or probate in general, you can go to aubreylegal.com and schedule a time to talk with me for free. Again, that website is aubreylegal.com. Go there. You can choose a time for us to talk that works best for you, and then I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have regarding estate planning or probate. So today's topic is, do I need a pour-over will as part of my estate plan? You may have heard the term pour-over will when you're doing research on estate planning or just from a friend or something like that. But what a pour-over will is, it's a specific type of will that is generally made in conjunction when you create a trust. And what the will contains is a provision that allows the will to pour over any assets left in your trust. So what it does is it acts as a backstop in the event that there were certain assets that the grantor, the person making the trust, did not transfer into their trust before they died. So how's a pour-over will work? Well, when you create a trust, a key part of creating that trust is you have to fund it. And what that means is that you transfer certain assets into the name of the trust. So for example, say you have a investment account and it's in your name individually. What you'll do is you then transfer that asset or that account into the trust. And so now the account will be owned by the trust and it'll be titled John Smith, trustee of the John Smith Trust. That's how it would work. And what that does is that it transfers ownership from you individually to the trust. So when you die, that asset will be owned by the trust and it will avoid probate. So that asset does not go through the probate process, which I'm sure you heard can be difficult, it can be time consuming, it can be expensive. So that's one of the main reasons why people create trusts, is it avoids probate. So any asset held by the trust upon your death will avoid probate. So when you have a pour-over will, it allows you to state that any assets that have not been previously transferred to your trust will do so at your death. So the assets that may have been acquired after the trust was made, any asset that you chose not to put in your trust for whatever reason prior to your death, or any asset that you just forgot to put in your trust, will then end up into your trust and then will be controlled by the terms of the trust. The same as if the asset was transferred prior to your death. So why would you want to have a pour-over will? Number one is it acts as that safety net, as I talked about before. If there's certain assets that you don't put into your trust prior to your death, this type of will make sure that it ends up into your trust, that asset will ends up in your trust, and will be handled just as if it was transferred during your lifetime. So if you have a trust that states that your beneficiaries, your children, don't receive any assets until age 40, then that asset that was not in your trust, but that was poured over into your trust by your will be handled the same exact way. Second reason why you'd want to have a pour-over will is simplicity, is that everything will end up into your trust. You don't have to have a will that dictates, this asset goes here, that asset goes there. Everything just goes into your trust, which is already established, in which will handle the assets the way you wanted to, the way you chose to have your assets handled. So that makes it a little more simplistic when it comes to administer your estate. And then a third thing that a pour-over will does is it helps reduce probate complications, right? Is that when you die, any asset that's held in your name individually has to go through the probate process. If you have a will, the will dictates how that happens, right? So if your will says any assets that were held by me individually are poured over into my trust, it's a very simple process. There's not a lot of people to find to make sure that the asset gets to them. There's not a lot. It's a less difficult probate process. So creating a trust, number one, it reduces probate because those assets don't go through the probate process. But any assets that are held outside the trust, your will, make sure they go into that trust, so that makes the probate process much easier. It can be less expensive, less time consuming, and less headaches for your loved ones that are going to be responsible for administering your estate. So to answer that question that I proposed in the beginning is, should you have a poor will as part of your estate plan? Well, the answer is yes if you create a trust, because it ensures that any assets held outside the trust will end up into your trust on your death. If you don't have a pour over will, if you don't have a will at all, those assets will not end up into your trust. They will go through, if you have no will, they will be distributed according to the intestate laws of your particular state, and you'll have no control over how that happens or where they go. So if you create a trust, it's imperative, it's very important that you also create a pour over will to make sure that your trust, which is the focal point of your estate plan, will be the one that controls those assets after you die. So just to reiterate, if you have a trust, yes, it's very important to have a pour over will. If you don't have a trust, it's probably something that you may want to consider, because there are a lot of benefits to having a trust as the central part of your estate plan. I have other videos that discuss that, but I'm more than happy to discuss that with you if you want to kind of discuss options and whether trust makes sense to you or not. So that's all I have for you today. Again, my name is Scott Aubrey, the owner of Aubrey Law. We do estate planning, we do probate. If you want to talk about estate planning, you want to talk about probate, you can go to aubreylegal.com and pick a time to talk with me for free. Again, that website is aubreylegal.com. You can go there, click on the schedule a strategy session button, and you can choose a time that works best for you, and I'm more than happy to help you in any way that I can. So again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to share your time with me. I know it's really valuable, and I will talk to you again soon.